Welcome to Business Mastery with Don Kennedy, your quick under 45-minute dose of expert insights and strategies to make a positive impact on your business and life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about founder-led marketing, but more important than that, we're going to be talking about how to get people to trust you. So I have Matt on here, and we're going to dive in, and we're going to discuss all the things in this low trust environment that we're all working and operating in today. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Can I trust you to interview me today?
I hope so. I hope you can. I think you can. So can you tell everyone who you are and who you serve?
So my name is Matt Watson, and I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, started multiple businesses, all of them kind of technology related businesses. So today I'm the CEO of a company called Full Scale, and we do software development for other companies like AMC Theaters and others. I have hundreds of employees in the Philippines that work for me.
Awesome. All right. So when we first, my notes from our pre-interview are extensive, primarily because the thing that stuck out is, LinkedIn influencers, everybody telling you how to do business these days are missing the key component that the founders and the owners and the people have to be trusted. It's no longer enough for just a company to have a good reputation. So I'd like to start there with you. What do you mean by founder-led marketing and founder-led trust?
Well, I think most things in life, we all want to do something with somebody we trust, and we're looking for referrals, right? Even if you needed a plumber or somebody to mow your yard or anything, right? You ask your friends like, hey, who do you know? Who do you trust to do this thing? And especially when you're selling an enterprise product, any kind of software and stuff, people are always looking for signals of trust. How do I trust that this product's going to work? And sometimes it's not even about the money you spend, it's all the time you waste trying to jack around with this stuff and get it to work, right? So trust is really pivotal, and there's nothing new about that, right? I think that's just human instinct. We all want somebody to tell us what is the safe choice, go here, do this, and we feel like it's a safe option. And that's all based on trust.
Okay, so you work with enterprise-sized businesses, and for enterprise-sized businesses, particularly, they always want that certainty. I don't know that we can always get that certainty with our choices and decisions as a smaller company because there's fewer people kind of weighing in. So what are your thoughts on how you build that certainty and that trust if you're somebody who maybe has, I don't know, 60 employees and is doing, a good 8 figures, but they don't have enterprise-sized teams to help them determine where the trust comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're the buyer, right, sometimes you're like, look, I want to buy from IBM or Cisco or whatever because I trust the brand name behind it, versus I'm just looking for a smaller company that maybe will give me a better deal too, that I can trust to get this work done. And so, yeah, when you're a smaller company and you're shopping vendors, some of it comes down to your budget, right? Like I know I'm not going to IBM or Cisco because I'm not going to spend that kind of money. So I'm looking for a smaller or mid-market product. But it still comes down to trust, right? So how do I trust those vendors? So I ask my friends, does it may know these people? You're in business with them. But a great way to do that is looking online, right? Looking them up. And when you come to founder-led marketing, that's the power of social, be it videos on something like TikTok or even Instagram, LinkedIn, X, all these different platforms, depending on your type of industry, is like, hey, I followed this person. I don't know them very well, but man, they seem really smart. They're always talking about what's going on. They make a lot of great points. Like, if I ever needed this kind of product, they're naturally who I'm going to think of because I just think highly of them, even though I don't know them very well.
So how do we build that online? Because that's really the kind of the premise of this is we are in a very low trust environment in the
Yeah.
market. A lot of people are seeing that you can buy Yelp reviews or Yelp bomb somebody, or you can
Yeah.
use AI to make like feedback reviews and things that may not be honest. So yeah, the swing to being able to see the founder because maybe they don't have the brand name recognition of an IBM. So yeah, how are we doing this these days? Because what used to seem like it was working with influencers and affiliate marketing and things like that seem to have kind of slowed down a little bit, and people are looking for the actual people making the products, making the services, doing the things, as evidence that they're trustworthy.
Yeah, I think you see a big part of that with an example of LinkedIn pages or X accounts and stuff that are primarily the company, right? They're like the brand name. People don't care as much about anymore, but they want to follow Sam Altman or Elon Musk or whoever, like the executive teams or thought leaders at those companies. And I talk to startup founders all the time, and a lot of startup founders are like me. They're builders, they're technology people. They're not necessarily salespeople, right?
Right.
And the thing I always tell them, I'm like, the easiest way to do this is just thinking about whatever cool thing it is you're building. Just go on social media and tell everybody about the cool thing that you're building. Just get excited about it. Just get excited. Whatever the thing is, just get excited about it, and just go tell other people about the cool thing that you built, and other people will get excited because you're excited, and you'll find people that are interested in whatever it is that you're doing, and just putting yourself out there. But just be excited about whatever you're doing, and just go show it to people.
So what about those of us who have been in business, more than 5 years, where we're past the startup phase, and maybe we haven't been all that excited
Yeah.
on social media because people, we wanted to build the brand, right? For the longest time, it was build brand recognition. How do we now, at this juncture of being in business for a while, maybe building the brand, maybe not putting ourselves out there as founders early? How do we make that pivot now, or is it even important once you've been doing this a while?
Well, I think it's always important to build a personal brand, right? And I think that's what you're alluding to, is building that personal brand. And it's never too late to do it, right? And the thing about the personal brand that you build is there's long-term value in it. And so no matter what it is you do today, let's say you want to find a new job or you want to start a new company, you're like, man, I wish I knew more people that could use my product. I wish 5 years ago I would have invested more time in this, right? Like that's what
Right.
you're always going to say and what you're always going to think. But if you invest the time in it now, little by little by little, as time goes on, you'll build that personal brand. So the next time that you need to find a new job, you go on LinkedIn and post about it. Next thing you know, you get a lot of people that are going to respond like, "Oh yeah, I know this person. I followed them forever. I would love to work with them," right? But the only way you do that is by just going through the motions and doing the work, investing the time, right? And the same thing if you launch a new product, you do this, you do that, you start a new job, all these different things, people will pick up and notice it. And it's just about building that kind of social equity and value over a long period of time. But yeah, it's easy to say like, man, I wish, years ago I would invested all the time. And that's kind of the point. Like if you're going to do this, you just have to start now. I post on LinkedIn every single day, and I've been doing it for a long time now, and I have almost 80,000 followers on LinkedIn. But it's not a huge commitment time-wise for me. And I think the other thing that people overcomplicate all this, you can also just repeat the same stuff a lot. I mean, they say less than 5% of people that follow you are ever going to see what you post. And so you can keep repeating the same stuff every 90 days or whatever. Pick the winners, what works really well for getting leads or creating conversation or whatever you're trying to do, and just keep repeating the same themes and the same patterns. So it's really about finding that 90 days worth of content or so that you're pretty happy with, and then just sort of repeating it forever, making adjustments as you go. But it's not that hard to build up 50 to 90 smart things that you would say and then keep repeating them forever.
That's an interesting take because, yeah, the algorithms do change. You don't necessarily hit the same people each time with each piece. So I have a note in here, though, about building that thought leadership is
Yeah.
really a cornerstone of this. So if we're repeating these things over and over again, is it that we're deepening that thought leadership, or people just maybe they've heard it more than once, or maybe they haven't, but when the personal branding and your thought leadership, I want to kind of wrap this up and make it so that people don't feel like they have to do two different things. If they want to build their personal brand, can they do it by demonstrating how they lead their companies and being the thought leader and how they do something different, new, or have a new perspective on something? Or is this something where people have to feel like I have to be different than my own company brand because I want to be a thought leader in something else? Or I should be seen maybe as something else.
I mean, I think it depends a little bit on the person and the company they work at and the role they have and all those things, right? But if it's a founder, I mean, a lot of times your personal brand is sort of really entangled with the company brand, right? So, I mean, ultimately you want to be a thought leader in your space, and a lot of times you do want to have a different viewpoint or some contrarian views sometimes. Um, but it starts by just having an opinion, and a lot of people are just scared to have an opinion.
Mm.
But I think that's the first priority is getting over that. It's like, look, I have opinions and I'm going to put them out there. And the reality is not everybody is going to agree with you and people are worried about, but that's okay. And the point is the people that do agree with you are going to be your allies. So you can say something super generic that nobody's really going to agree with, or you can say something that maybe pisses off half the people in the room, but then the other half of the people in the room love you because you said it. Right. So sometimes it's about finding, your tribe and the people that agree with your viewpoints, because not everybody's going to agree with your viewpoints, which is why you're scared of saying something.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So with founder-led marketing, and again, going back to enterprise size, right? So you had Howard Schultz at Starbucks who wanted to create the third space. Then they brought in another CEO who took all those out and did drive-throughs. Both of them probably have valid models, valid things, but I don't think people think as much about the second founder, or I'm sorry, the second CEO as they do like Howard Schultz because he put himself out there for so many years, saying things that sometimes might have been controversial, like the anti-union stance, things like that. Do you think that that was something that maybe was a little too divisive, or do you think that all opinions are pretty welcome?
I mean, I think you just have to be you. I think you just have to be you and put it out there. And you know what? Not everybody is going to agree with you, right? And so you just find your followers that do agree with you. It's not possible to make everybody happy.
Right.
And one of my favorite things I read on LinkedIn one day was from some lady that was like head of global HR of some company or whatever. And she's like, my goal is to be able to do something that 85% of our employees agree with. She's like, I'm never going to get the other 15% to agree. And it's so true. Like it doesn't matter what you do, they're never going to agree. Like even at full scale, we did something where we gave away a free vacation and you just had to basically enter your name to win. And in our one of our employee feedback things, somebody actually complained about the fact that we were giving away a free vacation. And it's just like, what is wrong with these people, you know? You're just not going to make everybody happy, and you just have to get over it.
Yeah. So being in your point of view and evolving also as a leader over years, have you found that at some point what you put out publicly maybe a few years ago might have evolved and not mean the same to you the same way, or are you putting things out differently?
I mean, you're always trying to be sensitive of different things. Like, I'm not going to go on LinkedIn and go on some tirade about politics or something.
Right.
Um, there's certain hot buttons you're going to avoid, right? But
Yeah.
But I think it's just being you and who your personality is. And if anything else, like you want to have a personality. I mean, you don't want to be super generic AI, voice, right? You want to be yourself. Somebody wants to be able to read that and like, yeah, that sounds like something Matt would say, you know.
So, what about those who it sounds like you write a lot? So, are you on video as much? Do you think that it matters how you say it or how you get it out there? Is one way better than another? Or is that also personality driven?
I think some of it's personality driven. Some people are good on camera, some people aren't good at camera on camera, some people are good at written, some people aren't. Um, I think it's also depends on your audience and the type of thing that you do, the type of business that you're in, and stuff like that, right? So, um, for what I do, our customers are largely, you know, IT business decision leaders, right? So LinkedIn is naturally a good place to reach them. So it really just depends on your kind of business.
So are you doing LinkedIn and these things just to reach your ideal customer, or are you also building your personal brand because it's just going to follow you no matter what you do?
It's both. I mean, the
Yeah.
reason I really started doing it though was of course for business. It's like how do we get our name out there and find leads and stuff like that. So it's always been kind of business first. And I think another way to describe this that I think I heard this on TikTok one day. It's probably one of my favorite quotes is as a business owner, your goal is never to be the best at what you do. It's to be the best known for what you do. Because nobody knows who the best is, right? But they know the best known, right? I don't know who the best plumber is in town, but I know the one who runs all the ads and I see their trucks driving down the street, right? And your business is the same way. Like you can't focus all of your attention on being the best. You've got to focus on being best known for what you do. You got to have a good product and service, but you got to focus on the marketing side of it.
I think
People
I've
have to know you exist.
Right. Yeah. I think I've heard somewhere that, some people who may not be as good as you are just better at being loud about what they do
Yeah.
and they're going to get the business.
Yeah.
So, yeah, being best known for what you do should be then, I guess, the benchmark. So, how does that play in, I guess, again, to that personal branding or the founder-led marketing? And I really want to kind of lean into this because I do know that there are a lot of founders, myself included, that would prefer not to, get on video and, preach the benefits of whatever, or, continually show up just for the fact that I need to be seen. And then at the same time, there seems like there's this push also for show your family, show your dog, show you're a real person. Show all of these other things about your personal life. And I think that that message of a personal brand means you also need to have your hamster on screen, or you need to show up every day in your social circle and scream from the rooftops what it is that you do. I don't know that that helps people kind of figure out where the line is. Because in a low trust environment, we want people who are authentic, but do we need to see the hamster? And we want to know what you do, but do you need to be every video or every article on what you do?
Yeah, and I've seen people on, use TikTok, right? And but part of their goal is actually to get you to go to their Instagram, and their Instagram maybe has other content in it that's more personable or, a little different strategy. So it's like, is TikTok more top of the funnel, but then for middle and bottom of the funnel, I'm actually trying to get you to Instagram or some other place, right? And
Hmm.
so you can have different kinds of content in these different places. I don't know. I think it really depends on the people and their strategy. I don't post stuff about my family and stuff like that. I don't post a lot of personal stuff. I mean, I do post more personal stuff on Facebook, and I don't post as much like work or commercial stuff on Facebook actually. And my Facebook is public, so if somebody wants to go look it up on Facebook, they can find me. But I don't really post any of that with a business mind to it. It's just personal stuff. But yeah, if somebody really wanted to research me, they could go down that rabbit hole, I guess. So
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? That these days, again, checking to see if you're a real person rather than something generated, you can keep them separate yet still be researchable or be found as an authentic, trustworthy person just with a little research. You
I
think
think it's
keeping,
fine.
yeah?
I think it's fine, and I think at the end of the day, I don't know how many people are really going to go on social media and research people
Hmm.
um, in the research step, right? Versus part of it is just awareness. Like, the only reason I know your business exists is because I've stumbled across your social media content, and that's how I know you exist, right? That's one use case of just building awareness and then building some trust and nurturing. So then when I do have a need, I think of you or you're top of mind because I always see your content. Like there's some home builder in Dallas for whatever reason. I always see his content on TikTok. And if I was ever in Dallas and I was going to build a house, he'd be the first person I'd probably call. I don't live in Dallas. Um, but like that's your goal, right?
Yeah,
That's the goal.
that's an interesting take on it. So, um, the goal then is to be, like you said, kind of best known for what you do, even if you don't need it. If someone were ever to say, "Do you know anyone in Dallas?" You would have someone top of mind at least to give
Yeah, that
them
guy.
someone to go talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the other thing that you have to think about for, if you want to describe them as influencers, is let's say it's about some business thing or health or beauty or whatever the type of topic is and different kinds of influencers. I think some of us will just gravitate towards certain people because we like the lens that they provide.
Mm.
Like I follow people that cover, the war in Iran or Ukraine or whatever things. It's like I could go do all the research and look up the news, but I follow this person because they do a really good job of analyzing all of that and summarizing it and giving me the bite-sized information that I want to consume. But people do that for everything, right? Be it, different kinds of content, industry, whatever your industry is. And to some degree, think about it that way. Like people will follow you because you're the filter of other industry things, and they like your viewpoint and your angle of whatever it is that you cover in your industry or your thing. So, does that
Mm.
make sense?
No, absolutely. And in fact, I actually think that kind of turns things on its head. I wonder if anybody, and if you're listening in, let me know in the comments, did you ever start your marketing strategy for your personal self by stopping and saying, who do I like to get content from, or how do I want to get my content? I think most of the time we're always so worried about how are we going to be perceived that I don't know that we flip it around and go, how do I want to receive the information, or, who do I like to connect with? Because that may be actually a really great insight into the content. Because I think a lot of people freeze on personal content more than they would business content, right? So if you're going to build something that you are known for, and you don't want to freeze and question what you're putting out there. What if we started from the perspective of who are the people that I naturally want to consume from, how relate to? How do they come across maybe in a way that I feel that it's relevant and it's a perspective that I like?
Well, and you definitely want to start with if you're doing this for business to generate leads, you definitely want to stop and think about who is the audience I'm trying to reach, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are their pain points, problems, etc., that I can create content around that they will find interesting. Um, so I mean, you definitely have to focus on that. I mean, you can start with like, hey, I'm just creating stuff, I'm throwing stuff out there. I'll figure out how I, improve this strategy as I go. And
Right.
then eventually, I think after doing this for 2 or 3 years, maybe at some point in time, you just stop caring and you just keep posting stuff out there, and the strategy gets a little lost. I don't know, but if you want to do it the right way, yeah, you should really hone in like who are the people I'm trying to reach? What are their key pain points, problems, things I can cover, et cetera, et cetera. But the challenge of that too is like when I publish content on a weekly basis, it's trying to figure out how much of that content is kind of top of the funnel, how much of it is like real product related for my company that's more bottom of the funnel. What of that content is nurturing, what of it's supposed to be entertaining, what of it's supposed to be funny, what of it is just random crap that I thought of while I was sitting on the toilet that people might find funny. Like it's all of those things, right? And I think if you do it right, it's a mixture of all those things.
Okay. So when you post things to LinkedIn, do you share the funny things you come up with in the shower, or do you reserve those for Facebook?
No, it's a mixture of all of it. And and I
Okay.
think and I think that's the key to some of it is having a little more fun with it. It's not, you don't want it to be this super stuffy business stuff all the time. You do want to show a personality, and you do want to I mean, people are on LinkedIn to learn and find jobs, but for a lot of social media, people are there to be entertained. People aren't on TikTok to learn some business lessons or whatever. They're usually there to be entertained. And so the more entertaining you can make your content, the better. I think that's almost always the case.
So platform wise, do you have any recommendations for the types of content that show or build trust? Like you said, TikTok is more entertaining, so probably more the lighter side, real person type of content, and LinkedIn is the business content. But what about all the other ones? Because there's a lot of people who will post to Facebook and Instagram, or they'll use some of the other platforms. Substack is getting really big for articles and writing. And I believe you can start doing live videos on YouTube now, which I think for the longest time was just a video platform. So, what are your thoughts on sort of the type of content and the platforms that people are using? And could you ever make a mistake where you put something up there that's a personal thing and it kind of affects your business negatively?
So all the platforms you just mentioned, be it YouTube, long form videos, or shorts, or TikTok, X, all these different platforms, I think all of them can be successful. The challenge is probably thinking that you can do all of them.
Mm.
You can really only do one or two of them. And if you really focus really hard on one or two of them, I don't even think it matters which ones you do. You can probably be successful. Um, I focus on LinkedIn. I also write a newsletter. I also host a podcast. So those are the things I focus on. I do post on X and I've posted on Blue Sky and Threads. Um, but whenever I post on X, I get absolutely nothing out of it. It feels like I'm in a black hole somewhere and it's completely pointless. And it's probably because I don't spend enough time on X. Like I
Mm.
don't spend a lot of time on there every day commenting on other people's stuff and engaging with the community and stuff like that. And I think in all of these, you basically have to do that to be successful in any of these platforms. Whatever platform you want to be on, you've got to spend a little bit of time every day engaging with other people's content and stuff. And that's really key to growth when you're starting out anyways. Like you'll get more followers on LinkedIn by commenting on other people's LinkedIn posts than you will publishing your own. And like that's a whole nother set of strategies we could talk about. But um, I think to answer your question, I think you can be successful on any of these platforms. It depends on which one maybe your personality gravitates towards or your industry gravitates towards, and kind of going all in on one of them. I think the mistake is trying to think that you can do all of them. I think it's a terrible idea.
Right. So in again, you're interacting with other people and you may be right. If you're not on a platform for a bit, the algorithm probably isn't going to promote your stuff, if we're honest, because they're also there to sell ads and make money. It's a model. So when you go in and you know, comment on people's posts and do these things, inside the platform itself, are you doing that? Again, showing that personality, or does it matter how long you've known this other creator? Do you feel like, because I'll be honest, it feels like trying to grow a personal brand, be yourself, be that person when you've already got an existing business that maybe the people who followed that business didn't really see that other side of you, but now it's so important because of the trust.
Hmm.
How can you get through this idea that they're two separate things or they're one thing and you should be yourself in response to these other comments? You should be responding with personality. You should be showing who you are as the actual human being making the comment versus the company you represent.
Well, I think in any of the comments that you do online, I think the key is to be fair and balanced, right? And so even if people are going to disagree with you, they'll respect your opinion because of the way that you presented it, right? Like you could take something really crazy like abortion or whatever it is as a terrible example here. But if you say, I believe it should be this way because of this, and you have a really well thought out pattern of why you're saying that, people can look at it and be like, well, I don't necessarily agree with you, but I respect your opinion and the way that you've presented your argument, right? And and that's okay. I think that's your goal. Like, hey, not everybody's going to agree with me, but I believe this for this like really well thought out reason. I think people are going to agree with you as long as you don't go in there and be like, this is stupid. Bam, I'm done. Right? Then people are like, this person's just an idiot. But as long as you present your arguments in a well thought out way, even if people don't agree with you, I think they'll respect your opinion. And I think that's the point.
I think listening to this and talking with you, that might be a good baby step sort of way if somebody is a little hesitant to put their personal life or their personal I'm just thinking, I know several people that would rather be um, have their tongue nailed to a table than get on video.
Yeah,
Right?
I
Yeah,
understand.
they don't mind if the company shows things, they don't mind. They'll say this is the person who's the founder, the leader, or they might, have a uniform shirt on and they're shaking hands, but they're not actually what I would consider generating that thought leadership content that we're talking about here. It sounds like if they go in and they could actually start interacting with other profiles and other businesses or other creators, they may be able to start sort of inching themselves into feeling more comfortable about expressing things.
That, I
Or,
mean, that is the best way to do it. Like if you were
yeah,
starting a brand new account on LinkedIn or X or something today, yeah, you should publish new content, but the way that you're going to grow your account is by going and commenting on other people's stuff. And really, the key strategy there is figuring out whatever industry you're in, who does everybody in that industry follow? Who are like the major thought leaders in this industry? And then your job is every time they post to go comment on it.
interesting.
How do you provide the most thoughtful comment on those people's articles and posts as fast as possible so that when the other 1,000 people that are going to come read it are going to see your comment
Mm.
and you have some well thought out argument, right? Not everybody's going to agree with you, like I said earlier, but you have some well thought out, like why I agree, why I don't disagree. And even if you don't agree with me or not, like you can respect my opinion because I've said it in the right way.
Right. And again, this would be the person, not the company, going
Sure.
in and establishing, again, authentically human. This is my opinion. This is why. And
Yeah.
you think that grows accounts faster than making more content?
Absolutely it does. And it's the reason I don't grow on X and stuff like that is I don't do that. I don't
Mhm.
spend the time to go really use X or post on people's stuff. And so I'm in like a black hole.
Mm. And do
So
you do you think this is kind of across platforms anymore? I know that there's always studies about, the algorithm changing or whatever, but it sounds like, the engagement's under your control. It's your control whether or not you
yeah.
go and make comments. Do you think that that strategy or even that interaction is a pretty good bet it's going to work to grow your account even if the algorithm is acting up?
I mean, from my experience on threads, I've had pretty good luck still with posting stuff and still getting engagement, even though I don't necessarily engage a lot myself with other people. On
Hmm.
X, I don't get any engagement at all, probably because I don't engage with other people.
Right.
So I think on LinkedIn, if you publish good stuff, you'll still get some engagement. Um, but I mean, absolutely, if you're starting a brand new account, you need to go engage with other people. That's the key job. It's like, how do I go comment on 10 people's post every day or whatever is and that might sound tedious to do, but that's the job. And yeah, there's AI tools that help you do that stuff these days, but the last thing you want to do is just write spam on all these people's stuff. And that was my point earlier about what you want to do is write some really thoughtful answer. And sometimes they're just really funny, snarky answers that work really well. I've had some on LinkedIn that have gotten tens of thousands of impressions and stuff because they were just the right snarky comment on somebody's post that was funny or whatever. Um, yeah, sometimes you just never know what's going to take off, but
And that grew your following, right? Being
it
just
does. Now, does
because
that
you're
mean
human.
does that mean I sold more stuff? I don't know. I mean, that's the problem with all of this is it's kind of top of the funnel versus bottom of the funnel. You always want to be doing stuff that creates awareness. So you get more followers. Like, okay, I got more followers, but then I have other content that's designed to nurture those people. And you got to be doing both at the same time. You've got to expand your audience and nurture your audience. You got to do both at the same time.
Right. And again, starting from the place of authentically yourself, having some personality, and being willing to, I'm not going to say vulnerable, I don't think that's the right word, but be willing to open up enough that people can trust you beyond, again, any brand recognition that maybe your business has built over years.
You just got to have an opinion, you know? Just gotta have an opinion and why. And it's like, I'm doing home remodeling stuff, and the tile person's like, I like Cardi board over Go board, and this is why.
Yeah.
And I'll die on this hill. Here you go. Here's my reason. That's it. Just have an opinion.
Why are we so afraid to have opinions, at least publicly? I mean, everybody
Humans,
has opinions. Why do you see, and you've been doing this a long time and you've worked with lots of different enterprise companies as well. And the fact that you have an opinion working with these large companies, because I know that there are people who'd be like, oh, I could never tell people what I really think. I wouldn't ever get an interview with that person, or I wouldn't get a meeting with that person. Right? I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Be honest. Like, really,
I
what are we
I think a
afraid?
lot of I think a lot of humans don't like to be judged and criticized. I think that's just
Mm.
human nature, right? And so they're worried about what other people are going to think of them when they put themselves out there. And I think it's just human nature. Um, part of what makes me different, and I didn't realize this till I was about 40 years old, is I have ADHD. And one of the common traits of people that have ADHD, they don't have the same sense of consequences
Mm.
as normal people do. Normal people are worried about the risk and failure and all these things. Most people with ADHD don't. They're doing things because it's interesting and it's unique or whatever. The consequences part of it is secondary in the thought process. And it's part of the reason that a lot of entrepreneurs have ADHD is because they're not worried about the risk or the failure. Like that's not what they're thinking of. But if you ask my wife, she'd be thinking about all the risk or the failure before she took the first step. She'd talk herself out of everything before she even started. Her brain is just wired totally different than mine, right? And that's part of what makes us all unique. But my wife would be the one that'd be worried about people judging her and the criticism and what like she'd be worried about all that. Where I'm just like, whatever, let it go.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I I know you're right in that way that, people with ADHD are, wired differently, completely, risk assessment, those things. So it's an interesting thing to kind of contemplate as well, that some of the people who are a little hesitant to build that personal brand, even though they know that the trust piece is so important in the
Yeah.
marketplace, may be wired for that need to protect themselves versus the need to, stand out there and give their opinions. And that could actually be a consequence these days in business if you don't take a stand.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you go to post stuff on social media, there's multiple ways to do it, right? Sometimes it's not about sharing your personal opinion as much as it is telling somebody else's story.
Mhm.
Like, here's our customer, here's what we did for them, this is the benefit they got, this is the value, right? Like, potentially it's sharing those kinds of stories, and it's you're not even putting your own opinion out there, right? It's just storytelling of your customers and their success and or industry trends or whatever, right? You're just reposting the facts. OpenAI did this crazy thing this week, and I'm just telling you about it, right? Versus having some crazy opinion of your own. So I mean, and there's a lot of different strategies of the kind of content that you create.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I mean, if you were to open, a general, I guess, book on marketing these days, or on, the same thing that they would say, know, like, and trust, or awareness, and then nurture, and then convert. And it seems like that is the path that we always all take, whether we're consuming or selling. And for whatever reason, we do kind of get that all wrapped up in our heads about what we should be doing, where, for whom, how. Um, and I do think that we do get lost in that process, and we do kind of commingle ourselves or hide behind
Well,
our brands.
and here's another component to this we haven't talked about. I think it's really critical is now Google and AI and all this stuff is changing dramatically for search. So if I'm going to go search about your business or research about your business or your industry, who shows up in the results? In really their AI results now instead of search more and more. And that's all based on trust as well. And actually over the last 2 weeks, I completely rewrote our entire website to be focused on this, to have what they call the EEAT signals, which is experience, whatever, authority, trust, whatever it stands
Right.
for. But it's the signals that Google's been telling us forever are important, but it's all about creating your unique viewpoint, story, and authority in your content on your website. Because otherwise, AI could create generic content about literally anything now, and you could slap it on your website. So really creating content for websites now even has to really be unique to your viewpoint and your story to make it sound like it's unique. Tell us insights about this industry or this problem that nobody else knows or understands so that you're building that kind of trust to the search engines and to AI is also super critical. And I built a whole elaborate system with Claude Cowork to do that over the last couple of weeks. I downloaded my book that I wrote, every podcast I've ever recorded, every podcast I've ever been a guest on, every newsletter I've ever done, all of our customer case studies, all the history of my company, like all this information. And now I can use it to create content for our website that can intertwine all of these authority and signals. And it's all the same thing. Like, not only we should have to show trust to our customers, but we have to show trust to the search engines now.
Right. Right. That's a brilliant strategy though, is to take all of your sort of body of work
Yeah.
and put that together and it may and again if you're listening in, if you haven't done anything like this, that may help you define, your brand within the company as well and your personality. Because I'm sure there were pieces of the work that you put up there yourself on podcasts and things where it had to be you and your personality and how
Yeah.
you come across.
Yeah.
And AI aside, they probably know warm and friendly from cold and distant if
Yeah.
there's so, what are your thoughts on that strategy for not just websites, but what about the social media content or starting a new account? Do you think it would be
Well,
valuable to do that?
yeah, I originally started doing this actually for LinkedIn a few months ago. I pulled in all my old LinkedIn posts to analyze which ones worked well and didn't work well and all that kind of stuff, and to use my old content to help write the new content and stuff, right? And I pulled in lessons from my book. So I'm like, okay, if I go to Claude Cowork and I'm like, I need to write something, help give me a social media strategy plan, and help me do all that stuff. So I think all that is super powerful. And I first did this about a year ago for product marketing for a website back then. I downloaded like our companies in the Philippines. So it was all about our company in the Philippines and what we do and the benefits and all this kind of stuff like product marketing. And then I asked it to write all this additional product marketing. And it could write way better than a human ever could because no human is ever going to remember all of these
Right.
facts and all these stories and all these things that AI can do. But yeah, you can load up all that information into, if you're using ChatGPT like a custom project, or if you're doing this in Claude, it has different projects and Claude Cowork and whatever. Yeah,
Right.
just load up all of that stuff and use that to help give you ideas for content and social media plan and unique viewpoints, unique angles, all this kind of stuff. It's a huge help.
I would say also, and again, to people listening in who've been in business for years and they wouldn't remember the stories from 3 years ago, right?
No.
They wouldn't. So I love this idea also because it gives you a chance to also kind of pull from the archives, maybe
Yeah.
those positions that you held that haven't had to come up in a while,
Yeah.
but they'd be important to express today. So I think that's
Absolutely.
another excellent way to leverage again this founder-led marketing. So where can everyone find you? Tell us about the book. Where can we lurk you on social media? I know LinkedIn. Where else?
Yeah, definitely Matt Watson on LinkedIn. There are a lot of Matt Watsons on YouTube, and I'm not really on there. There's a YouTuber and stuff. I'm not that Matt Watson. Yeah, LinkedIn is good. I also do post on X from time to time. I do have a Substack. It's called Product Driven. So I do have a newsletter. My book is called Product Driven. It's about engineering leadership. You can get a free copy of my book at fullscale.io, which is my company's website. You can get a free copy of the book there. But yeah, we do software development for other people, including AMC Theaters as one of our big clients. And yeah, you can learn more about us at fullscale.io.
Perfect. All right. We're going to put that all down inside the show notes. So if you find this on the week the podcast launches, or if you find it 2 years later, you can still find the book and find Product Driven. And thank you so much for having this conversation. I think it's very important, believe it or not, to have these conversations with people who are not necessarily marketing background, but are actual founders, people who have done this and are continuing to thrive in these changing environments. Because you've been doing this for how long now?
Well, I've been writing SEO content or publishing on socials for over 20 years.
Right. Yeah. So you've gotten to
So,
see all of the changes and things that have happened.
been through all of it.
Been
Yep.
through 100% of it. So,
Yeah,
well, I really appreciate your time and wisdom. And thank you also for the idea to use AI and leverage it to dig through what your company's maybe been doing the last few years so that you can pull out the things that'll build trust faster. So
absolutely.
I
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it so much. Yeah, thank you. All right, we'll talk to y'all next time on the next episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Mastery Podcast. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to dawnkennedy.com, and you can now check us out on YouTube as well as, of course, any of your favorite platforms that host podcasts. Take care.